In this video, I'm gonna go into a deep dive on how companies should come up with their content strategy. This one is about the company Wander, which if you haven't heard about it, it's kind of like an upscale Airbnb, but not a marketplace. They're a verticalized vacation home platform. So in this video, I'm gonna go through what is Wander. We're gonna evaluate the different types of content and like the content strategy that they're going through right now, channel by channel. We're gonna talk about where they could improve with new ideas. So we're gonna try to come up with a bunch of new content ideas. If I was on the marketing team, these are things like I would bring to the team and we would try these different ideas to grow it faster. It's a new type of video, but it's basically gonna be like a live consulting session for a specific company in an attempt to level up their content and growth. If you've never seen me before, this is your first video. I'm Kallaway. I'm a creator, 550,000 followers, 1 billion views. The whole channel is designed to help entrepreneurs grow faster using content. Let's first talk about what is Wander. I mentioned in the intro, it's basically a verticalized Airbnb play. So what Wander effectively has is 50 to 60 properties. They're adding them all the time, all across the US. And these properties are in the locations that you would want to travel to most. And the way I describe it is it's kind of like the best house in the best neighborhood in that location. So you can see, like, take this first one, Wander Big Sur Coast. You go to Big Sur if you want to stay in a sick house. It's beautifully designed, premium materials, premium experience. Now, Wander owns the houses. They're starting to expand, working with different people who own luxury vacation houses, and Wander's taking over the booking. But for the most part, everything you see on their site, they own the house, and then they own a premium experience layer. So when you book through the Wander app. It's cleaned by the Wander team. They manage the entire experience, and it's designed to be premium. For Wander, the goal from a business strategy content perspective is they want people to book stays at their properties. Now, the first thing you may be asking if you're watching this is, what sector of the market is Wander playing in? Are they going for super premium? And actually, if you look at it, the price is not that much more expensive than an Airbnb. So I just clicked on this Big Sur property, which you can see right here. It has 4 bedrooms and it sleeps 10 people. For a 3-night stay, the price is $1,945 a night, which for 10 people is $194 a night. $194 a night is not that expensive. I guess if you were to get a hotel room in Big Sur that slept 2 people, is it outrageous to assume you'd pay $380 a night? That's not too outrageous. So to me, the amenities, cleaning, and experience of a hotel, but you're getting the full luxury of a full house, like an Airbnb. So you get the best of both worlds. So I would expect to pay a premium for that, but actually, for Wander, most of their houses are not that much more expensive than what you would pay for a premium hotel. And maybe they're slightly more expensive than an Airbnb, but you're not having to deal with cleaning, taking out the trash, the variability in the experience of not knowing what you're gonna get with the Airbnb. So the reason I give all that context is when you're thinking about content strategy, the first thing to understand is who is the ideal person that would book, so you can reverse engineer what type of content do we need to make to get in front of that person to have them take an action. Now, here's the interesting part from a content perspective. I've interacted with the Wander team a little bit, but like this is the #1 challenge. When you're booking a trip, especially like a luxury trip, the point of exposure with content is not going to match the point of purchase. So let's go back to this Big Sur example. For 3 nights, 10 people, $7,000 trip, even though it's $700 per person for the weekend, which is pretty expensive, you're not gonna trigger on a price at that level just by seeing an Instagram reel. So you might see the coolest Instagram reel on this Big Sur property. You might see an endorsement from the most credible, your favorite influencer. You might send that reel to a friend in Instagram DMs. But there's a good chance that a lot more planning and coordination is gonna have to go in before you book. And so the challenge from a content perspective is, what is the right flow? What is the right exposure point and path? And what is the right content medium to get people when they're closest to that purchase, or to ramp them from high breadth, high reach format down to a format where they would be closer to booking. And so to me, that's the #1 thing you have to figure out. Then once you realize what the ideal user booking flow is, you work backwards. Now, I'm not a part of the Wander team. I don't have access to this data, so I'm just going purely off of outside looking in. I want them to win. I'm just gonna give my assessment and like the best ideas I have. In my opinion, the best thing they do today, and we're gonna go through what they have. They have Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. They run a bunch of ads on different YouTube channels and podcasts. The best thing they do today is their organic email strategy. So I signed up for a free account on Wander. I automatically get added to their email list. And then every time they launch a property, they send me one of these emails. Every time they have discounts on a property, they send me one of these emails. These are super well designed. And in my opinion, when I'm checking my email, especially on my computer, is the closest time that I would be to being able to take an action to open another tab, look for Google Flights, open another tab, start planning a trip. So driving people to that email list, the free email sign up, to me is the best thing they can do. If they have millions of people on that email list, they're constantly pushing new properties, existing properties, flash deals. If they're doing all that via email, they should optimize for bookings. And so the question then becomes, working backwards, what are the best ways to drive signups on that email list? To me, there's 3 ways. First, you try to get people to make a free account. Either they download the Wander app and make a free account, or they make a free account on desktop. And the way you would do that is by running some promo or some giveaway that in order to enter, you have to make a free account. Second is some lead magnet that requires people to sign up. Maybe it's a packing list for Yosemite by an expert and it's gated by email, right? So some lead magnet. Third is you make dope videos that create some sort of artificial scarcity around certain properties, and then you have to sign up on an email wait list to get alerted when they come back on. This is more like what streetwear companies do. You go to their website, they're never up. You have to sign up for the wait list, and then they basically do drops around their new releases. Wander could do the same thing where it's like drops around flash deals or drops around available weekends that are popular, etc. Those are like 3 ways to drive email signups. Now I want to get into a little bit of like a quick audit of the different channels they're doing, what I think's working and what I think they could do more of, double down on, and then we'll get into the ideas. So let's go to I think their Instagram is their leading channel. I mean, if you look at email, so they've got joined 310,000 wanderers. So that's basically how many free accounts they have, I would assume, and how many people are on the email list. So that's their biggest channel. But in terms of content out, let's go to the traditional channels. So first is their Instagram. They have the @Wander handle, which is great, 127,000 followers. If we go to Reels and we just look for what the most popular Reels are, if you scroll over, you can start to see likes and comments. The engagement's pretty good on these. They have some outsized performers. Like you saw this one up here. This top right has 170,000 views. There's 400K, here's 1.8 million. So if you click on these and you watch them, what are these? Most of these that are doing the best are collab posts that they partnered with a lifestyle couple, lifestyle influencer, whether it be travel or not. They sent them to the property for free, or they sent them plus paid. They did a collab post with them, and then they were able to leverage the views and traffic from existing major accounts. So like this 1.8 million one, if you click through, Lainey Churko has 2.3 million followers. So this was a collab post. So the outsized return for Instagram are these collab posts with travel influencers. They should be doing a ton more of these. Now, if you think about content, there's kind of like 2 directions. There's inside out, so that's content Wander's making to go out to the world. And then there's outside in. There's content that people on the outside in the world are making for Wander. It's either being cross-posted or it's driving traffic in. The outside in approach is pretty straightforward here. You just identify the people that you'd want to stay in those homes that are aspirational, do this collab post, run this over and over. I would say they have the strategy dialed. They should just take it to the limit, do it 10x. The inside out strategy is where I think they have an opportunity to grow. And that's where there's a lot of ideas I want to get to at the end of the video around what they can do. So actually Wander created content. But I just wanted to start by checking in. This is Instagram. I think it's pretty healthy, but a lot of the traffic they have, a lot of the followers, a lot of the views are coming from outside in. And so there's a huge opportunity inside out. So that's Instagram. We talked about their email strategy. I think they're doing a good job. I think they should do, like I said, flash deals. They should be doing a lot more around the existing properties and trying to activate interest of these are use cases for people that went to these properties and had trips and they were successful. They do a really good job when they launch new properties. Every time I see these, I send them to my friends. So that is working, but I think they could be doing more in email. The way they're formatting these is great. This really stands out compared to most of the emails that you get. TikTok, they don't really have a presence. They have 2,700 followers. I think this is the main account. Yeah, this is the main account @Wander. Great handle. Only 2,700,000 followers or 2,700 followers. I think they could be doing a lot more here. We'll get to that. TikTok specifically, because they don't have the collab features that you would see on Instagram, the outside in becomes a little bit more difficult, right? Outside, people could be going to Wanders and making content and tagging them. It doesn't show up on their account. So the flow through is weaker. TikTok, you need to go more inside out. So we'll talk about the ideas there as well. Let's go to YouTube. I actually really like what they're doing on YouTube. I think the channel is smaller than what it deserves. They should keep hammering this. There's really 2 things that they do on YouTube. If you go to their most popular videos, the first thing are these house tours, which if you look at other comps like real estate or architecture, you see a lot of these home tour videos that go crazy. And I haven't watched all these videos, but I think they would benefit by doing these home tours in like a professional aesthetic way, instead of a meant to kind of like showcase what it would be like to stay, showcase how cool it looks. I think that's one content vertical on YouTube that already works in other markets that should work here. The other thing they're doing, which I think is really smart, is they're taking entrepreneurs. So Camilla in this case, Jordan in this case, these are proven entrepreneurs that is one of the slices of the sub-markets that they're going after. They're putting them in a Wander and they're interviewing them in the Wander and talking about why Wander was good for their retreat or for their vacation. That makes a lot of sense. These are doing well. These get to draft off of the benefit of the popularity of the entrepreneurs. I like this type of thing as well. I think what they're doing is good. They could improve the packaging here a significant amount. I think because they have such beautiful properties, more so than almost any other vacation rental, vacation home type company, you want to lean all the way in. I was watching a few of these. The video I liked the most that I saw was this Malibu one. I don't know if this guy works for Wander or is an influencer himself, but this felt really relaxed. Immediately, I don't know if it's his delivery or the way they scripted it. Immediately, it felt like I was brought in and I was almost like watching a lifestyle vlog. So again, I think they have 240 videos on the channel. They're making good content. You want to stand behind the beauty of the houses, which they're doing. And then the other thing I wanted to show is this example. So this is Packy McCormick's Not Boring newsletter. Well, actually this post is all about Wander, but he has included Wander ads throughout multiple posts. Like they'll buy newsletter ads. This episode is brought to you by Wander, so he talks about it. They've been running ads on Packy's newsletter. They've also been running ads on My First Million, which is an entrepreneurial podcast. So it's clear that one of their strategies is to say, okay, the luxury stay market, one sector that we really want to go after are entrepreneurs who have high discretionary income that might travel themselves, but also they could do corporate retreats. So they're getting placements on surfaces where those people stay. I like that strategy a lot. I will say though, like My First Million, when you listen to the podcast and you hear it, no matter how good the ad is, how quickly are you going to go from hearing that to booking a trip? As we mentioned earlier, the connection point or the amount of friction between exposure and booking is very high for a trip versus something else. So I'd be curious to see just how well those are doing. Although if the entrepreneur cohort is showing in the data that that's the right strategy, My First Million is one of the best podcasts to be on. Same thing with Not Boring, although to my point, being an email, I feel like is a little bit more native to booking trips. So I'm curious, again, I'd love to talk to the team and figure out what the data looks like. But in my opinion, the best bookings probably come from their organic email strategy. And I would engineer all of the content to drive people to make free accounts or to sign up for email waitlists. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the money section. Hopefully this reaches them. Hopefully, I'm gonna send this to their team. Hopefully they get this. These are ideas for new content series or new formats, new things I would try based on everything I know about Wander that they're not doing today that they could be doing, or things I've seen from the outside that may work. Again, this is just like an idea brainstorm. I love Wander. I want them to win. So I'm just gonna put this out there. And if this video format works, maybe I'll do this for other brands. But the first content series is around general travel curation. So if you think about it, most people, when they're booking a trip, they don't book the trip because of the house. They book the trip because it's in a place they wanna go. There's things or an event in that place that they wanna do. And the house being sick is a bonus. If they have extra money, they will pick a sick house over a worse one so that they have better accommodations. But most people are not going to book a house just because of the house. Maybe a corporate retreat where the whole thing is based around the events in the house. Maybe that's where they would actually book because of the house, but I wouldn't rely on that. I think there's a much bigger TAM of people who are traveling that just want the best accommodations so that they're comfortable. They also want it to be aesthetic because they're taking pictures. They're gonna share those pictures on social media. So it's important to realize the travel is not for the house. It's for the area or for the events. If I'm going to Joshua Tree, it's sick that I got a Joshua Tree house from Wander that's the best one on the block, but I'm not going to Joshua Tree to stay in that house. That's a bonus. I'm going to Joshua Tree because I want to be in Joshua Tree. I want to hike in the national park. I want to be in the desert. I want to feel the feelings that you would feel on a trip to Joshua Tree. and I would like to pay more to stay in a dope house so that I'm more comfortable. So because of that, what I think Wander should do is create a curated travel account that makes vertical short form video and potentially YouTube from one faced creator that curates the best travel inspiration in the country. So that could mean restaurants, events, hikes, landmarks. Like, where do you go when you're trying to say, hey, I want to go to a national park and I want to have an elevated experience? Where should I start? There really isn't a good place. All of that is fractured. You see a lot of TikTok curation of like, these are the top 5 restaurants in San Diego, for example, but you don't see the premium luxury aesthetic. I think there's room for Wander to either create or buy an existing Instagram account that has already been built around luxury travel. Now, they don't have to plug the Wander properties every single post. In fact, actually suggest they didn't, but in the bio, it can be powered by Wander, and then Wander becomes the curation layer for dope travel. And when they have posts around cities where Wander has a house, which that list will increase as Wander has more houses, they can say, hey, one of the best places to stay is the Wander house. But instead of trying to push for people to stay, just become known for luxury travel. And if you have this consistent content account, that becomes another asset, obviously, for the travel space, but I think that is an amazing top of funnel. And here's where I think there's extra alpha. A lot of the accounts that were travel based on Instagram were photo based, and Instagram's in an era right now where photos do not grow. So there's a good chance that there's accounts that are kind of zombie accounts that have huge followings with a lot of amazing travel photos, but those people are not video native. I think you could go in and buy some of those accounts. You could place a creator for 6, 7, 8K a month full-time against those accounts and have that creator curate luxury travel videos, like make Instagram reels of luxury travel. And I think that would really crush. So that's idea number 1, is to create a sub travel content brand for luxury travel aesthetics, whether it's dining, experiences, accommodations, whatever the through line would be for luxury travel. Become the engine that powers that. It will associate Wander with that, and I think that will have a long tail. So I would do that on short form channels on YouTube. All right, second idea. This is probably the idea I'm most excited about, the Wander list. So Wander as a name is amazing. You think about the Michelin list for restaurants. Michelin sells tires. They had no business doing this restaurant list. They started doing it. It needed to be done. All of a sudden, Michelin is now probably more popular for the Michelin restaurant list than it is for their tires. They did that list because they wanted to promote tires. They wanted to identify the best restaurants, and then the only way for people to get there was to drive, and to drive they needed tires. That's why Michelin did that. I think Wander could do the exact same thing for the Wander list. So what would this be? They either long form YouTube or blog or both. You basically create the go-to list of things to do in every city. So you become the guide. Every experience, every unique thing in the city, they want the Wander stamp. If you can find a way to create the Wander list, again, you don't need to push the Wander properties. They speak for themselves. If you can just get people to the site, eventually they're gonna see how amazing the properties look and it will work. But I think using the quality as a wedge, the Wander list kind of goes hand in hand with my first idea, but it's just a different way to package the information, trying to curate luxury, curate the best travel experiences, become known. You want the word Wander to be in the head of people when they think luxury travel. I think that's a super smart way to do it. And the reason why you want to build these content streams is because you eventually would probably have to pay to advertise on those streams. It's like if you're an artist, would you rather own Spotify or have to pay every time you want to get on a Spotify playlist? You of course would rather own Spotify. I think Wander can own like the infatuation, but for Wander, for travel. I think that would work super well. And again, to get tactical, the reason you run this playbook is because you can do a bunch of things that drive email signups. So you could say, hey, we're dropping the top 10 list for LA. These are the best restaurants or the best experiences in LA if you only have 5 days. We're dropping it, it's gated, sign up with your email, boom. All of a sudden you got 10,000 emails, and then that list comes out, you have the email capture at the bottom, it starts to drive controversy, people that didn't get on the list want to be on the list, that spreads, more people sign up, it creates this nice flywheel to drive the emails. This is all assuming that the emails are the best way to convert people to book, because as we mentioned before, that's the closest content format to booking. All right, the third idea is to hire 2 to 3 travel vloggers and send them to the Wander houses to create short form specific content inside out. So this gets back to my point before. You have a lot of amazing content coming outside in, and that's leveraging the brand of these people. But if you really think about it, most of the following of these influencers follows them because they like the influencer. So when the influencer goes to a Wander house, amazing. It's a great showcase for Wander, and you're gonna have some stick. But for the most part, those people are just gonna keep it moving, right? That's like another episode in the influencer TV channel. What you really want is to complement this with inside out vertical short form that's personality driven. So it's really important that you hire an in-house creator that understands travel, that has the vibe you're looking for. Wander did a great job of doing this for their house tours. There's a couple of really, really talented kind of like walkthrough people. I don't know if they work for Wander, they're contractors. They go to a new house, they do the walkthrough videos, those are on the website. I think that's an amazing way to demonstrate what the house could be in a horizontal format. I think you need some of this done native vertical. And the best way to do vertical is high quantity tied to one personality that's super charismatic. And so I would find a way to bring in a couple of these creators, and I would give them little side missions or side plots, or I would have them go host little events that were all in Wanders. And I mean, it's the dream job, right? For paying 6, 7, 8K a month, that creator is gonna fly all over to the vacant Wanders that aren't booked, and they're gonna film content specifically in those Wanders. I'd probably build 1 or 2 satellite accounts like Wander with Stephanie or Wander with James. And these are people that Wander owns the accounts, they pay them, they're on payroll, but they create these narrative-driven, character-based accounts. That's kind of like a baseline idea. They should do that regardless, but to me, that's a no-brainer. Another idea, and this one I would need to think about a little bit more, but it's to try to recreate this creator house vibe, maybe with entrepreneurs, but specifically inside of Wanders. So right now, one of the use cases for Wanders are these corporate retreats. And this is basically like a company rents out the full Wander, goes for a few days. It's the leadership team, it's the whole company if it's a startup. And a lot of that is behind closed doors, right? That's meant to be private. How does Wander take something like that, invert it, and then create content out of it? Can you handpick 6 to 10 entrepreneurs around a certain sector, send them all to the same Wander for a 3-day retreat, facilitated by someone Wander hires, or maybe facilitated by another neutral entrepreneur that Wander puts in, and then puts a film crew in there or puts 1 or 2 videographers and films the whole thing? Is it possible to recreate this creator house reality TV show kind of vibe around entrepreneurs in a house? I would take your most aesthetic houses and I would try to almost build a little bit of a reality TV show for entrepreneurs, but have Wander be the host. I think there's something really interesting there. Obviously, entrepreneurs don't want it to be drama filled, but potentially you could build a business in 36 hours or do a hackathon in Wander or some sort of centralized event in the Wander house, and you bring these characters in and then you film it like a Barstool-esque reality type show. I think there's something really interesting there. And I wouldn't do that all the time. Maybe you do 4 of those a year or 2 of those a year, but that's like an extra kind of series that really all you're doing with content is you're layering Tinder. You're layering Tinder on to make a big bonfire, and you just need one spark. Once you have all that Tinder gathered, you just need one spark. It's possible that everything I've already mentioned and everything Wander's already doing is the Tinder, and then this show, this reality show powered by Wander, is the spark. It is the showcase with the drone footage at the beginning of the episodes showing off the Wander houses. If you follow the same logic of culture, if culture predicts future behavior, why wouldn't there eventually be B2B reality TV shows where instead of Love Island, it's this team is building a business in 36 hours and the whole thing is filmed? That actually might be a bigger idea than just for Wander, but I think there's something there. Wander can be the foundational host layer for it. And all 4 of those ideas were kind of like broad reach. It wasn't specifically for entrepreneurs, maybe that last one was, but the other 3 were meant to get people who are affluent, but not tied to a specific domain. I think there's a bunch of other ideas you could do just to try to recruit more entrepreneurs. For example, if you had podcasters, you could send the podcasters to a Wander house, have them film an episode, but then have the ad placement be Wander and like vertically integrate that whole experience. I think there's so many little things you could do with the entrepreneur segment specifically. They're already doing a lot of the great stuff on YouTube, as I mentioned, but those are some ideas for content series. And that was just me coming off the dome for 30 to 60 minutes. I think sitting and embedding with the Wander team, really aligning on like who that ideal booker is based on the data, and then coming up with content series to get that ideal viewer so that it can reverse engineer to booking. I think that's exactly how I would approach it. I'll wrap the video here, but in general, for something like Wander, something like travel, you want to get to emails, you want to get to free signups, which they're already trying to do, and using vertical content and or YouTube content, video to drive intrigue, to drive scarcity so people sign up. I think that's the best approach. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. First time I've ever made this kind of like content strategy series. Let me know if you want me to make more. If so, comment what brands you want me to cover next, and I will definitely do that. See you guys on the next one. Peace.